Everyone, I wanted to introduce Nitchada from your Western Michigan University. First of all, I want to start with an acknowledgement of country. I haven't memorised this, so I have the university acknowledgement of country. So the university acknowledges the traditional owners of the unceded lands on which we work, learn and live. The Wurundjeri people, and also the Bunurong people from Burnley, Fisherman's Bend, Parkville, South Bank, and now Werribee campuses at the University of Melbourne. The university also acknowledges and is grateful to the traditional owners, elders and knowledge holders of all Indigenous nations and clans who have been instrumental in our reconciliation journey. We recognise the unique place held by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the original owners and custodians of the lands and waterways across the Australian continent, with histories of continuous connection dating back more than 60,000 years. We also acknowledge their enduring cultural practice of caring for country. We pay respect to the elders past, present and future and acknowledge the importance of Indigenous knowledge in the Academy. As a community of researchers, teachers, professional staff and students, we are privileged to work and learn every day with Indigenous colleagues and partners. So first of all, I wanted to introduce Nitchada. So she's a teaching assistant and research assistant completing her PhD study at Western Michigan University in the USA under the direction of Laura Van Zoest. Thank you for joining us, Laura. She's involved with the National Science Foundation funding Building on MSTEG, which is the Maths Opportunities Students Thinking Project. Nitchada has been investigating mathematical productive struggle since 2020. Besides productive struggle, her research interests also include exploring teachers' classroom norms and examining how teachers build on mathematical opportunities in student thinking across different cultures. So today she's presenting on her PhD research study. What exactly is productive struggle? So thank you and welcome, Nitchada. Before we start, so we'll save questions to the end. Nitchada has asked if anybody has a question online or in the room to write down the slide number and then she'll address the question. Sorry.
Right. Thanks, Julia, for the introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Wee Thong Se for inviting me to be in this area. It's really great that I'm going to have a chance to get to know each of you. And yes. So for today, the topic that I would like to talk about is what exactly is productive struggle. Agenda today is I would like to share with you my background first, so then you can know where I'm from, and also that would affect my conceptual understanding of productive struggle as well. And then would like to share with you my productive struggle journey since 2020. The third part is a notable aspects. So I think like if you haven't heard about that before, you listen to this part and then you might be able to use some findings right away after the session. And the last part, I think this is a critical part for all of us, because I want you to kind of during the time that you engage with my presentation, I want you to keep thinking like what thing that you have been done already that would relate to that description, but you just don't use the term productive struggle. Or even like it might be related, but why don't you use that term? So that is the fourth session. So for the background, this group is gonna be the big group that influenced me because all the faculty members and also colleagues and friends that I have been working with, they all like have a conversation together. That's why they're gonna really affect my understanding of productive struggle. The second one is the frog study. So originally I'm from Thailand. I'm from the north of Thailand, and then I was pursuing my bachelor degree at Chulalongkorn University. And at that time, I did my undergrad thesis about problem-based learning. Study about the effect of using activities based on problem-based learning that would affect mathematical connections of students and also their attitude toward mathematics. Then I still have the same idea of research. Go through like in 2018, I pursue my master degree at the University of South Florida. At that time, I learned more about equity issues. And we talk about co-teaching, co-planning that help create space for students to like have equitable space for them to learn from each other. And then in 2020, I moved to pursue my PhD at Western Michigan University. And then Dr. Laura Van Soest kindly introduced me to know the frog study. And my journey of frog study started right away when I start my PhD program there in 2020. Why we call frog study? That's because we use the term, we use the problem. So sorry, I just forget that to time myself. So as I know. All right, so we use frog problem in our study. So the problem is we start with 2 frog team of size 3. The thing is we want students to figure out what is the fewest number of moves to switch each group of frogs from one side to the other side. And they have like 2 rules. The first rule is they can move one frog to the slide to the empty spot, and that count 1. Or they can jump one frog over one frog to the empty spot, and that's also count 1 as well. So normally the teacher can use this and like a paper and let them to do it on the worksheet. But for us, our design is we use it as a first day of the class to do like a team building and also engage with mathematics right away. So as you can see, rather than having frog in a sheet of paper, we ask 6 students to become volunteer to be frog. And then the rest of the class try to figure out together how to solve this problem. So we start with the frog team of size 3, but our goal is ask them about frog team of size N. Okay. And then that is a setting, and that researcher was me. And then another group of researchers that would influence on my research approach is the MOST research project. So for this project, they focus on the whole class discussion, and we believe that there is a student contribution we call high leverage student contribution, that if the teacher notice that and use that to talk to the whole class to discuss that thing together, the whole class can learn mathematics that contribution offer. So they have been doing like over the decade, and I just part of that for help them for 3 years. So this group is another group that would influence on my methodology part. And I also see productive struggle in practice as well. I'm teaching in person and also online, and I can see that there is some similar or difference across the setting as well. In 2022, as you see, YJ Achaga, he joined us. And then he brought up the question, what exactly productive struggle when we start coding together? At that time, it just led me to think about like, not just only the definition that I choose to use in my study, but also what other people attend to when they're investigating productive struggle. So rather than just only like read thoroughly in their findings, I start reading whether they define the definition of productive struggle or not. And we did change our team names to productive struggle team. And I expand my work to Thailand as well, because this is kind of like a crucial conceptual understanding that Thai people should be able to access as well. So we try to come up with the term and what is a Thai term that we can use to describe productive struggle. And that is not an easy thing, actually. Yeah, so we are still working on that. Then, because I share some background about me, I would love to get to know each of you by kind of like having you answer this question. When you hear the term productive struggle, what do you think of? So we're gonna take a minute or 2 minutes to address to that. And I'm not sure whether Julia can copy the link to the chat as well.
Yes.
They can.
Oh, they can use their
Oh, they
phones.
can-
They can use their phones on the
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe 30 seconds. Right. So before coming here, I did ask my husband to answer this question. When you hear the term productive struggle, what do you think of? And he said that he think of playing piano. And I asked like why, like what is the productive part? He said that playing piano is hard. And then every time you make progress from like one note to the chord, to the section of one line in the song and also the whole song, it's hard. Every step is quite hard, but once you can do it, then that you make progress. And that's how he think about like productive struggle. So I would like you to think about it, whether things that you wrote on the survey relate or not. And as you hear, there is some element that is a common between the piano stuff and our mathematics that we want students to struggle as well. All right, so next I would like to share with you my productive struggle journey. First of all, in 2020, I came with the interest that I want to learn more about how to use mistakes to support student learning mathematics. And then at the time that I gather data in the frog study, I would like to mention that all of the study is an exploratory study because I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know what I want to study, like my interest. So I just look for like what things that would let me know more about learning from mistake. And that term productive struggle popped up. And that's why like in 2021, the thing that I focus more is about teacher and student actions when they like when the teachers support productive struggle and when I think that students struggle productively. And then in 2022, it's more like not just only the actions, but what exactly productive struggle look like. So I moved to think more about types of learner struggle and try to describe the inner working of productive struggle with mathematical learning itself. And when I went to the conference, there is a participant surprised that what I present is not what he expect, because when he see the term productive struggle, he just think about student feeling. So because some students don't want to feel struggle, why we push them to feel struggle more? And then I haven't thought about that thing before. And also there is a sentence that we like to say that some people perceive struggle as a negative thing. However, current research have findings that support that struggle can help students learn mathematics. And I just like, is that true? It's like, is that feeling relate or not? That is the reason why in 2023, we have the report about the study that I just designed in order to investigate their their feeling, student feeling, and their sense making in order to better understand. And as I told you that YJ Ashaga joined us in 2022. At that time, we already have another line of research question that we think like what exactly productive struggle, and we did successfully better understand something. So that's why currently I'm dealing with the definition of productive struggle. In order to provide aspect of productive struggle to you, I think it makes more sense for me to start with now and then go back to 2020. So we're gonna start with the definitions. As you can see here, I'm wondering, do you like familiar with this set of literature? No, okay. So there is some story. If we think about the idea about productive struggle, you might thought of when John Dewey said that we should let students kind of like confused of something or feel perplexed with something, so then they can try to make sense of something and learn math eventually. But at that time, no one said something about struggle or productive struggle until Heber and Gross introduced the term struggles in a handbook chapter for teaching and doing research in mathematics. So at that time, this group of researchers says struggle is when students expend efforts to make sense of mathematics, to figure something out that is not immediately apparent. And then in 2015, Warshauer used the definition of struggle from Heber and Gross as her productive struggle definition. And if I could share with you the graph from the Scopus search, it's gonna be like from 2015 until now, the study relating to productive struggle grow exponentially because like the term got introduced by Warshauer. And then there is another set of materials in our field, which is like book written for teachers that also mention about productive struggle as well. For here, Sanjivani and colleagues said that productive struggle can be thought of as prospectfully reacting to an unclear challenge so that progress is made or learning advanced. And another set of documents are from empirical studies. For example, for us, our definition of productive struggle got influenced by the United States National Council of Teachers of Mathematics that view student struggle as an opportunity for students to make sense of mathematics in depth. And we define it as productive struggle is an opportunity for students to make sense of mathematics within their zones of proximal development and deepen their mathematical ideas and the relationship among those ideas. And Raman also used the term as well to mean when students persevere through challenging tasks leading to mathematical understandings. So what I would like to point out here, currently, actually our field use the term struggle and productive struggle interchangeable. I didn't put it here, but my current search is like, for example, Carbo that talk about productive failure. Their paper used the term struggle. And in his paper in 2014, he did mention that it's the same struggle as Heber and Gross use. So I'm pretty sure that they're the same thing. And then Joe Bowler that study about growth mindset did use the term struggle as well, but sometimes it looked like productive struggle. So then people in our field still kind of use it interchangeable, but the risk is like not everyone defined it. So that is kind of like the issue right now that I propose for my dissertation. Another thing that you can see that we did use some other terms that have theory behind us or some construct behind it. For example, here you see Raman use perseverance. And this is the thing is productive struggle definition use perseverance as a description term, and perseverance studies sometimes use productive struggle as a description of the term. So now we kind of try to pick out what exactly it is. So I did, as you said, since 2022, I did start investigate the definition itself. And we found out that, first of all, the different level of the detail of the actions about what students do when they struggle are different. So some group of researchers said that students working hard together to solve a problem, that's productive struggle. Another group would say students must reconstruct their prior knowledge in order to call it as a productive struggle. So there is a different level of the details, what exactly productive struggle is. And that is quite important in terms of when we deliver this kind of idea to the practitioner, like teacher. If we just say working hard, like there's many types of working hard, it's still not clear for practitioner, and how come we can help support productive struggle in the class. And this is the first part. The second part is we see that the aims is different in the sense that the first group might describe that this is opportunities to better understand a mathematical idea. Just opportunity, doesn't say whether students get or not. This is the first group. Another group like, well, in order to call productive struggle, students must get it. So this is something like nuance, but the more I see it, the more I think this is the thing that we should state or think as a field to think like which one we want. It can be two, but sometimes researchers should be explicitly state that. Yeah. Another part in the definition is about the object. So for example, my husband, he said about playing a piano, right? So his object is the song. When people use to play the piano. In our context of mathematics education, our objects would be mathematics or the task that students engage with. Most of the definitions show that challenging is the key. So if it's not challenging, so it's no struggle. Students just solve and then done. That's why productive struggle, the task or the object that students grapple with should be challenging. However, another part that I would say that not a lot of people, I would say like in the literature emphasize it, but put it somewhere in the paper, but not emphasize it, is the part of that task or that mathematics should be within student reach or student zone of proximal development in order for the struggle to be productive. And I advocate that this should be the very first thing to talk about before we talk about something else, because I attend the conference. People confused about this just because they don't mention it. And people think like how could you know it's productive? And they don't point out to this point. That's why people go somewhere else. And I think that is still not clear in current literature, but we hope that our work would advocate people to say more about this. And then the second one is feeling and sense making. The first group use Gordon's theoretical framework to link about feelings and student learning mathematics in the sense of like sometimes struggle would lead you to think like something doesn't work, but sometimes it's also help you to kind of force you or pressure you to come up with some strategy to solve a problem as well. Hiba and Gross also mentioned that when we have the feeling, like for example, frustration, it should be, I think it should be within reach, like it's not needless frustration in the sense of if they're feel frustrated, but there is no room to make sense of anything, so then that's not productive. So that is another point. And Odell study, she just said that maybe not just only frustration, but frustration and joy should be the construct of productive struggle. And then because we are in the field of mathematics education, not just only the feeling that we care about student learning as well. So sense making is another aspect that we should consider. So I did do the literature and to see what is the criteria that researchers use to recognize or identify struggle as a productive struggle. Many types of things. For example, literature or maybe attendees from engineering discipline, they would say that if you can solve part or all of the problem, then that's a productive struggle. But some group of researchers said, we no need to think about whether can solve or not. But if they struggle and they can learn some mathematical idea, better understand their wrong strategy, but better understand that strategy and then get some math, then that's a productive struggle. In some contents, it's like, if the student don't really know that they make progress, so then that's not productive struggle. Students should perceive as well. And another might say I think it's digital learning, Crumbs and colleagues say that if student persists in solving the problem, then that's a productive struggle. So there are now many things to tag is productive struggle. And then in another set, not investigating productive struggle specifically, but try to study things to support productive struggle. For example, what tasks that would support productive struggle or what teacher moves that would help students struggle productively. So these all things really help in terms of teaching and learning mathematics is great. But there is a question to be answered or to help address is kind of whether the student really benefit from their struggle or benefit from something else that might not be productive struggle, that might not be the struggle. So in the literature, there is the term black hole introduced by Martne and colleagues that say that maybe we keep saying that productive struggle is good for students and we should do that. But actually, there are not a lot of empirical studies that have the kind of effective piece that students actually learn from their struggle. Yeah, so we advocate to have more studies about the effective of the struggle itself when students engage. And for our work, we did integrate between feeling and sense making. I asked what students felt at that moment by sharing the video that they participate in the class, and also ask what mathematics that you have make sense at that moment. So it turns out that even if I asked what mathematics they have made sense of, they did tell me something else. For example, the teaching aspect that they learn or they feel more confidence during the time that they overcome those struggles. So we think that maybe the feeling of, for example, unsettled might not indicate that students won't learn anything. They might learn something too, but maybe it's not mathematics. And also we did try to introduce the term pedagogically productive struggle, but we haven't investigated yet, just hypothesized that not just only the mathematically productive struggle itself, it can have in other aspects, in other disciplines as well. Type of learner struggle. This is the famous one. People whose work investigating productive struggle gonna know this one is a well-known student struggle, which is first maybe get started and then carry out a process, or try to explain their thinking to other people, or they express misconception and errors. So this is the starting point of most of the productive struggle work, and Varshawa did exploratory case study at that time with the middle school student. Douglas and colleagues did provide types of struggle by using the term positive and negative struggle as well. And I assume that when the student have negative struggle, it seems like that when the student engage with the struggle out of their zone of proximal development. That's why it's too challenging for them. And this is our work that we contribute to the field. And we think like when students engage in productive struggle, there can be various types of struggle occur at the same time. For example, we call ghost struggle is because in the frog study, they need to figure out what is the field-based number of move, and they could not figure out about that. So then they have ghost struggle. And then when they try to solve the problem, they choose a strategy. No matter what a right strategy or not right one, they choose. If they can choose, so then they have no struggle, but they are going to struggle with like sub-strategy. For example, here, they chose to use arithmetic sequence as a template. But when they consider D, which is a common difference, they didn't realize that the common difference need to be like the same, consistent. They see like a group team of size 3, group team of size 2, group team of size 1, and they focus about that. However, when they use this, they should focus about a field-based number of move, not the number of people that you add on for each case. So that time we thought like this is the thing that we call productive struggle, if students can make sense of that. Currently, a few weeks ago, this popped up. So Jerry Shaw made a comment from his dissertation. He said that actually the field focus quite heavily on cognitive, that students solve problem by themselves. But in reality, we ask students to solve problem as a small group discussion, a whole class discussion. So we should expand type of struggle to capture those kind of learning setting as well. So that's why social struggle or social cognitive struggle has been introduced in our field right now. Right. Teacher and student action. So I'm not sure like how much like NCTM influence people in this area. This is like a teaching mathematical practice that NCTM recommend that teachers should do when they teach mathematics. Yeah. And then as you can see that support productive struggle in learning mathematics is one of those. That's why people use this right away without knowing what exactly it is. But because they say you should support it. Yes. So that is the teacher part. The student part, in the US, we have common core state standard. And we have mathematical practice that students should have because we want to support students to think like mathematicians. So rather than like you can solve the whole problem, we want you to make sense of the problem and persevere in solving them, and have other stuff like construct viable argument and critique the reasoning of others. It's a behavior that mathematicians have, and we want to cultivate it in students. And as you can see here, make sense of the problems and persevere in solving them. When people attend to perseverance or persistence in their definition of productive struggle, so their work most of the time relate to this MP1. And from this paragraph, you will see that they expect the student to have this kind of stuff to call it productive struggle. NCTM did put together what teachers should do or students should do if they are engaged in productive struggle. I would like to point out the thing that I see the most, and I didn't see somewhere else much, is giving students time to struggle. And I think that is important because if you talk with teachers in general, they just say like, I don't want students to struggle. So then we should support them so then they feel less struggle. But actually the way to support is not say much. You kind of like guide them a little bit, and then you just let them grapple with that stuff. That's why like providing time is quite critical when we support students to struggle productively. And for the student part, I think this is interesting to monitor from now on, because making progress is like different way that you're gonna define. Someone solve part of the problem called making progress. Some teachers said you need to solve all, like that. So this is another piece that I try to monitoring and try to better understand what exactly productive part would be for each individual. And learning from mistake. I think, as I told you at the very beginning, I thought it was the same thing or like similar thing, engaging students with mistake, thinking about that, then I support productive struggle. But actually, the more I work, I think this question is not that easy to answer. Like, what are the difference between learning from mistake and productive struggle? And I think if we think hard about that, we would learn a lot more. And many definitions that we have right now, persistent, perseverance, grit, growth mindset, would be more clear for us, like what exactly it is, why we need to have a lot of stuff. Can we have just only problem solving without having productive struggle? Is that the same thing? Like this type of question might help our community have a better idea to support students. Notable aspects. So I just finished my dissertation proposal last week, and this is the thing that quite interesting to share with all of you. But before sharing that, I would like to introduce this framework first. As I say that if you kind of like want to know the origin about like the work productive struggle, this paper would give you kind of like the idea that we talk in our group, like the group that investigate thing productive struggle. And as you see here, Washawa, she investigate within classroom. So that's why it's kind of like a productive struggle framework in an instructional episode. And are you familiar with the task dimension? This is from kind of like a Smith and Stein that we really like to talk from the US. It's kind of like we have low cognitive demand tasks and high cognitive demand tasks. And we advocate the teacher to use high cognitive demand tasks more. For example, for the doing math task, it's like students don't know what exactly part to go. They need to think a little bit first. And this is, this is the literatures overall that I think like is this helpful here so that you can see the world of the literature that relate to productive struggle. So for me, I did propose to do a three paper dissertation with 2 studies. The first one, I'm dealing with like we use struggle and productive struggle interchangeable. So I would like to help make it clearer what exactly it is. And then that piece would affect classroom interaction. And as you can see that in the classroom, we have individual, pair, or small group, or whole class. There's not a lot of investigation that what struggle occur during a whole class discussion and whether students learn mathematics from that. And for this, I focus on prospective math teachers first, is because like they are the group that we expect them to support productive struggle in the future, and there is a need for us to strengthen their common content knowledge, CCK, as well. And from abroad, this is a supporting productive struggle path. And currently, I think the research that engage in this piece more is like, have you heard about noticing? Teacher noticing? Yeah, they try to study about how to notice student struggle in the class. This is the trend. And this is gonna be my theoretical framework that I use for my second study. I think I am not planning to tell you about all the relationship behind that, but want to use it as a piece to, let me move. Okay. Oops. I want to use it as a piece to tell you that kind of like what is the important that why we need to engage in the work about productive struggle. The first thing is tolerate rights of the learner. Yeah, so for this one, it's kind of like the first right, the right to be confused, is the one that most relate to the work about productive struggle, because the teachers just think that maybe students should not feel confused. We should support them to become clear with everything. But actually, in order for them to benefit from their struggle, they should feel safe to be confused in the class. And this piece informed me to design one of the data collection tool, in the sense of not everyone want to say, I don't know, or I'm confused during a whole class discussion. And I'm from Thailand. I'm kind of like familiar with that kind of setting that I don't tell anyone, even if I feel struggle, I'm gonna be quiet. So that's why in my tools, I kind of like plan to have this piece to ask everyone as well, because sometimes we cannot observe it during the whole class discussion, but that kind of piece gonna help me learn about their feeling during the whole class discussion. These three boxes are quite critical. The first box is kind of like for you, it's kind of like you come from science education, right? There gonna be some set that you call it important. For us right now, I think important mathematical ideas is more than idea about how to better understand the relationship amongst the idea, but not like pay attention much to whether it's correct or not. That's kind of important mathematical ideas that we want them to get and struggle with. And many literature say that if we use high cognitive demand tasks, for example, like doing mathematics tasks with students, it is a highly chance for us to provide opportunity for everyone to feel struggle, not just focus only like the one who can have misconception or kind of like have difficulty that some of us think. It's just like productive struggle is not for some group, it's for everyone, and we should advocate to have it in our regular basis. And the third one is because I'm going to work with the whole class setting. So Sangupta, Eyring, and Agrawal did provide the term collaborative zone of proximal development in order for us to say that it's not just only individual CPD, it's like they work together. So whenever we want them to be productive, learn from their struggles, so then they should be within their collaborative CPD. As my background see, I did use the work that I work with them, like the building practice of building on MOST as my research tool to help me capture mathematics in the moment during the whole class discussion, and also their feeling of struggle as well. And I hope like if you want to learn more, and if we have time, Dr. Laura Vansushi is an expert on this. We can learn more about this work. And I also think like I'm not sure in this area or even in Thailand, whole class discussion, it seems like something that people not attend to. But in the US, it's kind of like we have a lot of research that investigate learning during the whole class discussion. And I would like to say that, okay, we still have time a little bit. I would like to say that before joining their work, I thought we cannot learn by using a whole class discussion setting. I need to teach them one by one. And then they changed my thought is because I just don't know how to do it. It's not because like you cannot do it. That's why I think it's quite critical to bring it back to my region about this idea as well. And I use that to kind of like help me monitor student justification and feelings in the moment. And I think that's all the thing that I have learned from 4 years, and I try to deliver in few minutes. All right, so now it's a time for us to.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
About 15 minutes for question and answers. Do we want to start with anybody on Zoom or?
Yeah. Nitchada, is it?
Yes.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Really, really interesting to listen to. And as I was listening to you, I thought, oh, could we just replace the word mathematics with science education?
Yes,
and I
exactly.
think, yes, you can. As you were talking, the thing I was wondering is, in your efforts to define productive struggle, do you think that you will be able to get a definition that works across cultures? And the interesting thing that you just touched on was coming from Thailand, and you might be a bit reticent to share, oh, I don't understand this, whereas with my knowledge of American students, they're very articulate and very much like, I don't understand it, I don't get it, let's talk about it. So can you talk a little bit about how you might be planning to cross cultural borders?
So when you talk about culture, you don't mean discipline, right? You mean like a culture in terms of country, right? I think, so what is your question?
How do you intend to use your work to cross those cultural
I see.
borders between what we're comfortable with?
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah, so that's why another line of research that I try to do is understand our norm first. Like because it's starting with the norm. If us as a teacher don't feel comfortable for them to fail or for them to struggle, then don't expect students to feel like that. So I just feel like the work that we can do in this region first is kind of like checking in with teacher, where are they at? Are they really like where you student mathematical thinking, and also where you like that making mistake is not something that you feel embarrassed. Yeah, we need to check with that first. And there is a participant asking related question, and I think it's worth to share. It's kind of like how would you do if the teacher doesn't want to do because they don't want to hurt students? They just feel like don't want to hurt. And I just say like this right of learner, if we learn more about Torres' rights of the learner and try to understand what the tension behind those rights is kind of like it's kind of like now in the US, I think we call like rehumanize mathematics. In the term of mathematics, it's not just only the object or things. We have feeling, we have things like a human, and then we can feel like this. We can feel confused, and like the right to claim a mistake, I think is really interesting to share as well. As I said, I want students to learn from their mistakes. There is a piece that interesting about the right. This right is kind of like you let students claim their mistake. You don't say that you make a mistake. Let's learn from that. Yeah, I think this kind of different. If we don't explicitly kind of like have workshop or do things with the teachers, it seems similar. No one gonna think hard like us. We are researchers. We think a lot. We read 2 sentences and we think a lot. But for the teacher, I think there need to be more explicit PD, was it professional development, or said that let them recognize that and feel that so that they can support, not just only like lecture.
So it's the right of the teacher to also engage in productive struggle.
Yes.
Fantastic.
There needs to be. Much. You're welcome. Because we're gonna work together in the future, right? We Tong is here. Yeah. So that's why I just think like talking about this in our regions is quite critical because our norm is different from the US. Yeah. All right. Or maybe I can stop sharing so I can see people online as well. Oh, great. All
We also do the chat.
The chat.
Any questions from anybody on Zoom? Oh, excellent. They're coming down here.
Yeah, he's one of the research team. Yeah, so yeah, if you would like to admire our work, admire YJ Akirka curiosities. Because he has been pushing me and Dr. Laura Van Soest to think about what exactly productive struggle. Do you want to say anything, YJ?
I must say the previous question was excellent. That's another point that will bring, because productive struggle in practicality terms in the United States is going to be different from Australia. It's going to be different from the Philippines, where I'm from. And so trying to investigate that further, especially working off of Nitchada's work, certainly it would be very interesting. Here in the States, as Nitchada mentioned, rehumanizing mathematics is really investigating cultural responsiveness. And so bringing that into the life will be very, very interesting. So thank you so much for having me. And Nitchada did an excellent job, didn't she? Woohoo!
Yeah, we work as a team. Yes.
Can I just have just a question about the notion of the right to confusion, the right and so on? I'm just wondering whether there's not necessarily an alternative, but it's something that might be complementary, is the duty or the obligation or the expectation that that's what you should be doing, right? So that not just say it's okay to be confused, it's okay to do this, it's perfectly fine, but rather, no, you have to be confused, like you have to situate yourself in a position where you will encounter the struggle, and that's not it's not just an optional extra, but a sort of moral necessity. Because I think if, say, within science, you will not be a good scientist unless you commit yourself to the duties and obligations of science, which is to struggle, rather than saying, oh well, it's okay, you can do with this as a sort of safe space in which you can struggle, rather than it's a necessary moral imperative of science or mathematics or research or these forms of inquiry to struggle. It's not an optional extra.
So are you suggesting that rather than say, is it a part of learning, make it like, this is crucial?
Yeah, essential.
This is crucial element for learning in this discipline. If you feel like this, you are in the right path.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, I wonder whether in the science, do you have science practice? We have mathematical practice for students. Do you have science practice? Is a practice that you want students to have that you also have?
Yeah. Well, yes, it's a practice, but it's a moral practice, right? It's about not what you know or what you're doing so much as what you ought to be doing. So it's a question of how people are positioned as mathematicians or non-mathematicians and so on. So I could position you as a mathematics student, say, well, as a mathematics student, you have a right to struggle. But if I want to position you as a mathematician, I'll say you have a responsibility as a mathematician to struggle. And there's a different moral claim there on being made on students. And so, yeah.
And not everyone will claim they're right.
That's right.
So we all have rights not to work on the weekend, but we do anyway. So we might not assert that.
Unless you feel enjoy doing that. We can relate to Dr. Laura Van Soest that we work together like we watching a movie.
I'm not recommending that. But I was thinking about the fact that in some ways there's a pretty short distance between a right and a responsibility. Like we have the right to vote, and we also have the responsibility to vote. And I think because like Tori's rights, we're trying to protect students, and that kind of comes first, but I can see where it should probably go exactly where you were mentioning, that not only is it a right, but it is an expectation and obligation of a sort. That makes sense.
Which is interesting because it does sort of include not just the cognitive struggle, but then the political struggle that's involved in negotiating what's going on in the mathematics classroom. So negotiating whether you ought to do something or not, or whether you refuse to engage it or not. So there's also part of that struggle, I guess.
I was going to say, coming back to that culture piece. So Jodie and I are doing some work on, so looking at this idea of students, so asking them what supports their mathematical well-being, what feels good and function well when they're doing maths, and taking out a subset who have expressed the importance of challenge, working through something which is hard, or again, we sort of wrote this piece not knowing this wishy-washy jingle jangle. We termed it perseverance and persistence. We were like, oh, we're not sure what the difference is, or is it productive struggle? And then we sort of engaged in the literature and said, wow, this is quite messy.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different to wellbeing sciences and educational psychology, perhaps a little bit more of a concrete definition, but then coming into the math space. But when we're sort of looking at these students' responses, and again, coming to that cultural piece, a lot of Pacifica and Māori students, very high collectivist cultural values. And we notice when they're talking about this idea of struggle is just how strong these collectivist cultural values are coming in. So the idea of family, but not the immediate family, but setting up a classroom which has the valuing of family. This feels like my family, so I can feel safe. And it's always, I said 90% of the students who mentioned this idea of the importance of struggle and challenge was collective. Again, doing it with my peers, having support with one another, and reciprocity. So when I'm wrong, they can help me, but then I can help them in the process. So, which was quite different to the students who were not from Pacifica and Māori backgrounds, was they were mentioning this idea of challenge, but didn't have that same collectivist cultural values coming through. So same sort of concept they're talking about, but quite different just from that cultural value piece. And then sort of the work with Jodie, she's working with trying to, again, can be quite, Pacifica and Māori students to speak up can be disrespectful. You sit and listen and you receive information, and saying how that can take some years to sort of say that, no, it's not disrespectful to talk up and say I'm wrong in the classroom. It's setting up that classroom norm. It's because you're helping your peers in the process. So it's setting up that classroom norm, again, which is bringing in that collectivism. So it's not disrespectful to say I'm wrong. So I think that was just interesting that, it can be interpreted quite differently.
The key to make like the space we learn together, the safe space. Like that term safe space is quite crucial. And I did experience myself a lot of time during the class at Western. Like we all don't know things all over the world. Like we know some part of that, but because we share together, we share our confusions, we share our wonderings. We did kind of like sometimes not agree with each other, and that kind of conversation help us make sense. Because now another research that they kind of increase a lot lately is kind of like an agency as well, student agencies. So teacher tends to be like background. For example, like YJ and I can tell like when we have class with Dr. Laura, she is the one who need to talk less. And we should talk more as a student, because it's kind of like the more we talk or engage with our peers, the more we learn. But the teacher just only the one who said, for example, questions or things to get us start thinking about that and control time, right? Because like the time limit us to. Yes, interesting.
Okay. For 1 minute, any last questions?
Sure.
Yes.
Because you mentioned about this component 1B about the whole class approach, having a high cognitive demand task for the whole class, because we have different ability in the class. So how can we ensure that the task is challenging for the strong ability, high ability group, yet at the same time the whole low ability group, it doesn't get too challenging such that it become a negative struggle that you mentioned earlier.
I see. So the nature of high cognitive demand tasks, actually one of that, for example, doing math, one of that we have is like, it should be accessible for everyone. There is not just only one starting point. Like student can start from their point and they can get into the answer the solution. So one thing that I think sometimes if we let you say about the whole class, I like that idea because that's my work is going to do that, is because we believe that not everyone gonna struggle when they solve high cognitive demand tasks. So then that's why we use the teaching practice of building on most is because we are going to select a high leverage contribution from students, which we think when we taught the one who didn't feel struggle, at least one of the type might affect them is they need to make sense of their peers' contribution. So at that point, we expect that we can increase students to feel struggle or the need to make sense of something because they need to engage with other people's ideas. And also they need to articulate their own idea too. And from what we work with the expert instructor said that actually the one who can kind of like complete the task doesn't mean they can explain the reason behind that. That's why one of the things like justification is another element that we try to use to monitor that thing. Yes. Do you have anything to add, Dr. Laura Vensus?
Nope, I think you've done a fine job.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
So glad we
Join
connect.
on Zoom. Anybody wants to join us for lunch afterwards? No, sorry.
Yes,
on Zoom.
midnight snack.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Good time zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we hope to connect more and do some change across the region in the future. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.